You're now listening to the Something Good Podcast Network. Please press any key to continue.
Everybody, welcome to this week's edition of the Couch Potatoes. I'm Alex
Morrison,
and this week we're going to be diving back into South Park again because, well, we're not really getting a lot of episodes, but we are getting a lot of content. Can you hear anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're just looking at me weird. But no. So, we'll start that one over. What was that?
Oh, you didn't have your headphones on.
Oh, I already did audio check
Okay.
on it. We were fine. I was trying not to do too much on the back. Now it's why I'm trying to also stop wearing hats because it pushes it down. It's vain bullshit.
You're a fancy lady, I understand.
All right, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Couch Potatoes. I'm Alex
Morrison.
And this week we're going to be diving back into South Park, and we haven't been getting a lot of episodes, but it feels like they've been just releasing a lot of content.
Yeah, so they're doing like 3-episode drops all at once as an episode. That's what it is.
Yeah,
so they're
basically.
roughly like 50 minutes long, which is about the time limit of 3 episodes.
Yeah. So yeah, we get 2 new specials: the Streaming Wars and Streaming Wars Part 2.
I wouldn't even consider
Electric
them specials. I just consider them like just 3 episodes banded together.
Special events.
Yeah, it's like this technically is the season.
Yeah.
Like in a fucked up way, like the post-COVID, pre-COVID, those were episodes. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, that is a good way to look at it because we got such a short back-to-back episode season with 25. So it almost feels like Streaming Wars Part 1 and 2 is kind of like the Stranger Things Part 1 and 2 ending to their new season.
And I'm kind of curious to see if they're actually going to go back to the episode format, back to like the 6 days to air type thing.
Right.
And because, they got to find a way to keep up with everything, and that was impossible back in 2016 to 2020.
Yeah.
But now I think it's actually kind of slowed down enough for them, and them doing a very specific, like targeted subject matter, such as like this one is the streaming services.
Yeah.
And the allegory they use throughout works perfect. Even making fun of themselves, even.
Oh yeah, no, they poke hard at themselves on these next 2 episodes mainly, and I wonder how much of it is like the truth, because when you kind of read between the lines, I just wonder if they are actually like telling the truth on like what happened, or if they're just creating a scenario because they like getting meta with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the great thing about South Park. They're able to make fun of themselves. Even, like you remember, like in the early seasons, it was Stan. Well, I think I've learned today, or Kyle says, I think what this really means is, and they really poke fun of that later on in like the 20 and season 2021. It's just like, shut the fuck up, no one cares what you learned.
Yeah.
And like you're not, it basically is kind of a slap in the face to a lot of them. It's just like, you may have learned something, but you'll never change. And that was the cool thing about South Park, was they constantly learn these lessons, and even going into the future, backpedaling a little bit. Especially a good example is the Tolkien thing.
Yeah.
Was, yes, we had a character named Tolkien Black, but what a nice fuck you moment when they're like, oh no, his dad's just a Lord of the Rings fan,
But I also love the fact that like anytime we've talked about South Park, even in the past, before season 25, before any of these specials, you always referred to Tolkien as Tolkien. Like you always said Tolkien. So like when they made that joke, it hit super hard for me because I'm sitting here going, oh, Chris has always said Tolkien. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah. And like, just to go out, his name is Token. Originally Token Black, the Token Black character, which is a nice little trope. And they're all tropes. Every character in South Park is a trope.
And we see one of the other big tropes actually return this season, someone we hadn't seen in a minute, because I was going to say we covered all that on that previous season. But overall, what did you think of these 2 specials?
I really liked them. They did a lot of pull from other very serious episodes. Even the PP guy, the PP pool guy.
It's a PP.
Because that goes back to an old episode of them going to the water park.
Yep.
And Kyle just being so disgusted with the idea of people peeing in the pool. And
that is like one of my favorite scenes is the boys all chilling in the pool and the kids and the little kids float on by and you just see the pool of yellow starting. They're like, oh, no.
Yeah. And, we get ManBearPig back, which is,
pimped out.
Well, not just that, the allegory of climate change, which is hilarious.
And they already did the apology to Al Gore episode in the last season, or the specials. It's all running together.
And that goes into another kind of facet of South Park that people don't understand is the people that make fun of, who watch it and kind of love it.
Oh yeah, like there's only been a few people that have kind of gotten their panties in a wad over it, that being like Tom Cruise,
Rob Reiner, Barbara Streisand, and stuff like that. Because I love what's his name from The Cure.
Well, they were just like absolutely ruthless on Barbara Streisand. So I can't imagine she was happy. Oh well, yeah,
but she was also like, do you know the reason they went after her? The real reason they went after her?
I've heard it before.
She called it trash TV, and the guys, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, are basically like, look, we know exactly what we're about, so we're going to make fun of you because she's actually one of the most hated people in Hollywood at that time,
right?
Because the way she treated people, and it's like she's such an easy target to make fun of. But I do love what's his name from The Cure.
Robert Smith.
He watched it.
Robert Smith, he's here to save the day.
Yeah, but Robert Smith watched it. He's like, this is too goddamn funny.
Well, that, and he was like, I had no idea what I was recording those lines for. He goes, they just show up and they're like, say this. Okay, now say this. And he's like, I wasn't given context. He's like, so when I watched it, it was quite shocking.
And that's something South Park actually got away from was, celebrity voices. Because I remember like season 3 or season 4, Jennifer Aniston came on the episode.
Yeah.
George Clooney played a dog. Like it is a huge amount of like star power that gets put in this show. And now I'm kind of glad they're able to, step back a little bit, get some other voice actors in. And it's still like just a solid satire, especially the PP guy. He's like this. He's like this Mario Wario type character.
It is. I was gonna say it's like Evil Mario, but Evil Mario technically is Wario, but he's not really a Wario.
And you get to kind of like the backwards part of the black family in all of South Park. They're not some poor black family. They are the richest people, and everyone hates them, not because they're black, but because they're rich. Except for Mr. Garrison, he hates them. He talked about putting on hoods and shit. But now the streaming service, this whole storyline.
Back to it.
The streaming service storyline is fucking perfect because it gets water rights, which is a big deal out west, especially past once you get past Missouri.
Yeah,
was who has rights to the water, which is something in California, which Trey Parker and Matt Stone are at. No, is what's killing those states. Water rights, because as of right now, there's a water shortage out west.
Well, I mean that's why they probably did the episode.
Yeah, but like it ties into, hey, let's talk about water rights. Let's talk about the invention of what is basically new cable with streaming services, and still go back to like climate change and stuff like that. And they're able to seamlessly put all three together in a nice little fuck you two-parter. And if it comes, I think it comes out to like a little shy of like 2 hours.
Yeah, that's about right. Each episode is roughly an hour. And honestly, for me, I almost liked the other specials a little more. This one felt a little lacking. I don't know. But yeah, let's go ahead and break down the plot episode by episode, and we'll kind of run it down. Exactly what Chris was saying. Denver is experiencing a large drought caused by ManBearPig, resulting in drying streams and discussions about reinstituting water restrictions, which of course winds up terrifying PP because he needs all the fucking water for his water park. And so that they've done a good thing of setting up what's happening and the motive behind the villain. He doesn't see himself quite as the villain till maybe the very end when he gets a little power hungry.
Yeah.
But yeah, the protesting citizens, including PP, are told that the city's water is used in agriculture, which immediately clips to like Randy, like wasting
all the water,
copious amounts of water on his weed farm. It's like,
yeah. And what's fucked up is like it's kind of like the backbone of what the water is needed for. Granted, there's a nice little joke about water waste in it with Randy, someone who's just lackadaisical with every aspect of his life. He's like, oh, you don't like something? Oh, you're a bigot, Sharon.
Fuck you, Sharon.
And Randy Marsh is the omnipotent character of South Park. Kind of.
Yeah.
He can do no wrong in his own eyes.
Yes.
So he's a one.
Even though he's doing all the wrong.
Yeah, he's one man God basically. And like it's kind of hilarious that he's the center point for these two specials because he was kind of the asshole center point of the last two specials.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, both Trey and Matt have already said that, part of the reason why Randy became a lot more of a pivotal role and an important voice in South Park is they're like, he was originally made to make fun of their dad. He's like, but we're slowly getting to that point where we are Randy. So like, we're able to voice a lot more story and tell a lot more stuff through Randy because we relate to Randy a little bit more than we do the kids now.
And there was a lot of influx of Randy-centric storylines throughout South Park before Paramount went the way they did.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, I remember watching a breakdown on YouTube about it, and like, one of the first real Randy-centric episodes was, I think, the Obama episode. Where he goes like super off the rails drinking, woo, Obama, yeah. And then shortly after was like the Little League fighting episode. And like those two episodes is like what cemented Randy as like no longer just a side character that, would robble with the rest of the group. He's now a focus.
Yeah. And around that time, not much after the Obama episode and that was the Game of Thrones-esque 2 episodes where Randy is basically a main character. And then they created the game. And those 2 episodes were introducing the game. And if you play the games, Randy's the character to have in those 2 games.
Yeah.
And it's very centric on him. And in the streaming wars, it calls back, especially in the second part of the episode, of what Randy used to be. Just a geologist.
Yep.
That's all he was.
But we're going to get to that part. So it's like Stan and Token, or basically with Tolkien, are sitting there watching all this going down. And, they start kind of worrying about it. And at the same time, when they bring up to him, they're like, hey, Dad, you're kind of wasting a lot of water. And, he starts getting all bitchy. And they're like, okay, whatever, Karen.
Yes.
And he's like, what? It's like, why are you calling me that?
And he slowly devolves into a Karen.
Yes, but like I love the fact that like at first he just did not get it because they called him it twice before he stopped and was just like, wait, why are you calling me that? They're like, whatever, Karen. He's like, no, quit calling me that. Why are you calling me that? I don't get it.
You're a self-entitled asshole, Karen.
Well, I don't get it. Randy and Steve start arguing, which is Tolkien's dad. So I never realized that Tolkien's dad's name was Steve.
Yeah.
That just seems very, I don't know, if they were going with Token for the kid, it's just like, and Steve.
Yep.
Didn't seem very South Park. But yeah, as the two of them are arguing, because he's, even bitching to Randy being like, you're wasting water. I've found ways to like, preserve my water. You need to do the same. They're interrupted by the Denver Water Commissioner examining the water supplies for their respective farms, in which Randy immediately is just like, oh, look at him, and just runs the opposite way.
So that character they introduced, the water commissioner guy, is actually a play on Daniel Day-Lewis's character from There Will Be Blood.
Oh, okay.
Which they played earlier on with the Goop. Goo. But like it's the stand-in for corruption, which we later found out is an agent for PP. But
it's a PP.
And even when you say it out loud, it just makes it even more hilarious. But it's a scam artist basically.
Yeah.
He's like he's a objectification of someone who's taking advantage, and on a government level, which I think is hilarious. It's just like, oh, you're in trouble. I could take advantage of you.
I can help you out here. You seem to be in a little bit of a sticky spot.
And this is where we get the supplies of like, hey, so Steve and Randy create a product, and the stream is just an allegory for people.
Yeah.
And now this guy comes in and saying, well, let me tell you how many people you can have to keep your shitty product coming.
Yep.
Because they're both producing the same product, which I think is a great analogy for HBO and Amazon. Both create solid fucking content. They've both gobbled up property after property, and now those are the two.
Well, so I see the allegory is the weed farms are shows like South Park and other independent shows. That's the allegory I see, and that the actual stream that you see in a few paragraphs, them sending the boats down, that stream is meant to be the service in which you're paying for.
I figure I consider the boys the service.
Oh yeah. You're right. Well, no, actually, no. Sorry, the boys represent South Park, the show. The boys represent the show itself. That's right. Yeah,
well, it plays. There's a lot of double meanings in a lot of this, and like I said, it goes from climate change to public platform streaming, and then into supply and demand of water.
Yeah.
So they are so good. They are so good at giving double meanings to everything, like the double meaning of ManBearPig. What was the whole story of ManBearPig during the apology episode? Oh, we made a back alley deal with him back in the fucking 80s, and now he's come to collect. And it's like, so let me get this straight. You knew it was coming, but you didn't want to pay the price.
We want. No, it's the 60s, or the 50s or 60s. Yeah, he's like, no, we wanted our popsicles and our rock and roll.
Yeah. It becomes not only just climate change, but consequence of stuff like trickle down economics, all this other 80s bullshit. But like it's the double meaning of ManBearPig, and then in this one, he has a double meaning too. He's an enforcer. Yeah. He is also still climate change, but he's also the muscle. Yeah, the muscle. And so it works great. So when the boys decide to get a control, because they have to prove whose water it is. That's where the whole streaming wars begin. Yeah.
But before all that happens, Cartman is still not even really pissed off, just despondent and just kind of meh about having to live in a hot dog.
Well, his mom finally draws a line in the sand.
Right.
With
so it's like,
no Cartman.
Well, that's what leads in. He noticed, while he's still kind of moping around the house, he notices a brand new house being erected across the street. And he sees it's a rich person. And in Cartman's mind, he immediately connects rich person to liking women with big tits.
Yeah. Well, that whole character's arc, the rich guy across the street, Cussler, is he needs water. He needs a streaming service of his own. Yep. Which, great analogy for some of the newer ones that are coming out.
Peacock.
Yeah. Peacock, Paramount itself. Because if you think about it, Eric is trying to sell his own people down the river to the person across the street. This new streaming service who is gobbling them up, other dominions, much like HBO and Amazon. So it kind of facilitates itself. Yeah. The whole big tit thing is just like an old aspect of what Cartman would still believe. Yeah. Rich people like fake women.
But exactly what you said. Leanne was like, no. And we've only heard her do that a few times in the series.
You haven't seen her go this hard since the Caesar Milan episode. Yep. Where he's just like, you need to control him. You need to stand in front of him. Yeah, God damn it.
Well, it's like, in retrospect, you almost just kind of see the break in Leanne in the last season over the
housing market.
The housing market, where she's like, I will quit my job, Cartman, if you will just stop with all of this. And that was kind of like maybe her final straw of like, this is the last time I'm giving in to him just so we can get back to normalcy.
Well, that's the thing.
And then now they're kind of stuck living in that hot dog. They're like, that's basically the moment where she's like, no. We've had enough now because of all this shit. You've put us here, motherfucker.
Yeah, and it's another aspect of consequence. We've watched a whole 20 fucking seasons or more of Cartman not experiencing the consequences of his actions.
Very, very few.
And then, we come to the subtle fact of, it's still a single mom, asshole. Granted, you guys lived there for years in our time, but in your time, you only lived there for probably about 10 years.
Yeah.
So you're facilitating a new version of reality into South Park, which actually the reality of South Park constantly changes, where a single mom wouldn't be able to afford a house. Period.
Nope.
Period. So now she's
not a hooker anymore.
Yeah. So she needs a job, and Cartman basically goes to an elaborate lengths to say it's either me or your job, and then she finally says, if I don't have a job, we don't have a fucking house. And that's the consequence, and that's why they live in a hot dog. You have to say it a certain way.
I know. I don't think any of us have said it. Just hot dog. It's always hot dog.
It is a hot dog.
And
not just a hot dog, a convenient hot dog. like the fountains run with mustard and ketchup.
Yeah, it's the old Nathan's hot dog stand that's actually right outside of Denver, Colorado, and it's really weird. Like, because seeing it on this show, especially because there was a YouTuber kind of group I used to watch called The Creatures. They kind of transformed later into Cow Chop after a few of the members left. But back when it was still The Creatures, they did a full ass road trip up to somewhere, and they stopped at that hot dog stand. So and when it was like operational and shit. So it was like when I saw it on the show, I was like, oh no, that's fucking cool. But I also love the fact that, like, no matter what Cartman does, ketchup and mustard are spraying on him constantly. It's like he turns on the faucet, opens up a drawer.
I don't want to get too deep in it, but in a broader spectrum, he's the next person, or even the third person, to move away from South Park. So Stan moved away with Randy Marsh, and they moved to the Weed Farm. They're actually out of the town of South Park. The hot dog stand is outside the city limits of South Park where they lived.
Kenny, and the blacks.
Well, not just that, but like Kenny lives in Soda Sopa, the different version of South Park, the rich version of South Park. So he's there now. Location wise, he's not too separated, but
yeah, I was gonna say he's still in the exact same spot.
But like reality version though, they are slowly separating.
Well, Soda Sopa's no longer a thing.
Yeah,
they already established that. It's like run down and beat down. I mean, that would be like saying, this isn't where Cap lives. Don't go hunting them down. But that were to say, if Cap lived in Noda, which is about 10 minutes down the road, it's like, oh, he doesn't live in Charlotte anymore. But it's like, he's still there.
But it's like the facilitation of separation.
Yeah.
So Kyle becomes the last one to leave. And we get that in the last special where everyone comes back home and Kyle's still there.
Yeah.
Stan comes back. He moved away. Eric came back. He moved away because of his weird relationship. and so like it kind of gives you a little bit more realism of not only did they move away, but it's because of Cartman they moved away.
Right.
And he's facilitating his own depression, basically, because he's a lot more depressed now.
Yeah.
But the
until he thinks his mom can get breast implants.
And that's what I love. It's still an outrageous Cartman plan.
Yes.
And it still goes back to like the older episodes, like seasons 5 and 6. Cartman's got this elaborate plan to do something so fucking stupid to get a stupid fucking result. Like, think about that. The result of marrying a rich person is going to solve your problems. No. This is the same guy who came up with the kid church who said I could be a millionaire by telling kids to put $1 in a box.
Just put $1 in the box.
That's my top 5 episodes. Because
maybe that's what we need to do is a South Park like personal top 5 episodes.
Ooh, this will be fun.
Oh yeah,
3 of them are Jimmy and Timmy episodes.
But eventually, when Leanne does kind of coming through the clutch, so she not only keeps telling him no, but she also goes, "We also can't afford it. We're broke." And it's interesting. That's the thing that broke him.
Yeah.
Hearing her saying no, he just kept getting mad, and she's like, "Even if I wanted to, we couldn't afford it. We're broke, Cartman. We're broke, Eric." See, even here, I'm trying to say Cartman, even though she calls him Eric. It's like, Eric, we're broke. And that's what all of a sudden the tear streams down his face, because that's the one thing he just does not want. We're broke.
Yeah, the vanity of having money keeps him going.
So, and again, this sets up the perfect way Cartman winds up gaslighting his friends essentially.
And like it even with the whole gaslighting part, it doesn't come on like he facilitates the gaslighting because
he just doesn't correct it.
Yeah, he has no reason to correct it because now the kids have decided, hey, we're going to start a streaming service where we create markers, little boats, popsicle boats, to show where the water's coming from.
Yep, because Steve winds up learning that he can sell some of his water supply if he
water
can
rights.
prove water rights if he can prove that his water stream reaches Denver. So he winds up talking with the boys, and they're like, we've got this. And it does like this really cool montage scene of them like eating popsicles, constructing like this one single boat. And they're like, oh, ta-da.
And
the part of the reason I liked it honestly, one of the things I really like about this show, and it's the reason I also like that movie Good Boys, which is they are so adult and smart in certain aspects, but in certain ways they are still kids, and they write that really well. Because watching that, it reminded me being a kid, grabbing just random shit around the house to try to make something, and felt like I was like in a big workshop or, and I was just building something grand. When in reality, it was a little boat the size of my hand, you know?
That has massive fiscal responsibility.
Oh my God.
So like, going to something like The Boys, another version of this is like going back to when Butters was a pimp. He's selling kisses. You're a pimp. So like that kind of flies over his fucking head just like this. And you guys are about to fuck up an entire economy with your popsicle boat. And it's the story of consequence. And that's when the other guy, the guy across the street from Cartman, says, hey, I heard you guys are making little boats to prove where water's coming from. I want you to make me a few boats. Because now, this is kind of fucked up. So they prove that where the water's coming from Credigree Farms.
Yeah, because after it winds up being a success, he winds up getting subscriptions to his service, including PP. That's one of the important things. Is after the first test run, before Cussler gets involved, PP sees that and he's like, "Ooh, I want a piece of the pie."
But this is kind of weird. So they prove that the water's coming from Steve's area.
Yeah,
but they're also proving, where PP's getting his water, and they're also proving where Culver's getting his water. They're constantly having to prove it.
Yes, every day.
That's the problem. So now you've created a supply and demand chain.
Because Steve was telling the boys now, he's like, look, we're going to need a lot more of these boats.
Yeah.
I'll pay you, what was it, like $5 a boat or something like that?
It was a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, my God. Yeah, sure thing. $5 a boat? Sure. $5.
And like, this is where I like where they're making fun of themselves. So they make a deal with PP, then they make a deal with Culver.
Yeah.
This is the back alley deal.
Well, they never make a deal with PP.
Yes.
The boys never do.
Yeah.
It's that PP subscribed to Steve's streaming service. The boys don't have a relationship with PP at all.
But it's the back alley deal itself.
Yes.
That, wait a minute, you guys were on HBO. Now you're on Paramount. The actual antagonist protagonist situation, whoever you think is good or bad, but this is a non-complete clause that is being blown out of the fucking water. As someone who signed multiple non-compete clauses, this is what I think is hilarious. It's like, how can you justify? So
Well, because it started with Steve, and he's like, I'll give you, actually, no, his was the lowest. I think it was like $2 a boat. He's like, I'll give you $2 a boat. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. And then Randy hears about it, and he's like, oh, I need boats. I want to do it too. And they're like, we can make you boats, maybe $3 or $4 a boat. And he's like, yeah, deal. And then when Cussler gets involved, he offers $15,000 for 10,000 boats.
Yeah.
And they're like, fucking ching? Yeah. And then so they recruit Kyle, Kenny, and Butters. And I love the fact, this is one of the things I mentioned. I was like, I love the fact that they're going through the process of making these boats, but but they're still having Butters eat all the popsicles. It's like, you could easily go to an arts and crafts store and get the popsicle sticks. But no, Butters is just over there just chomping down, sucking down these popsicles.
And this is what I think is hilarious is before Paramount Plus became a thing, even an option against, let's say, Amazon and HBO had already shelled out the money to do the whole back catalog.
Yeah.
Right? And even some of the new episodes when it was coming out. And then you see Paramount, and Paramount did it the same way Amazon did, where they were buying whole networks at a time.
Yeah.
But so was HBO. At no point did HBO just take up Comedy Central, which, you know, in the aspect of business, is probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
But god damn. Like, can you imagine? Like, you get, like, I would get HBO for this show.
Yeah.
For South Park. I gotta watch South Park.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if I want a back catalog, I want to watch it. But that's like Disney saying, yeah, Netflix, you can keep those Marvel shows. Like, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, there's also really nothing left on Comedy Central anyway.
But like, they're bringing back a lot of old content. They're redoing like Reno 911. They're, you know, you get the
Paramount,
back, but you're getting the back catalog of the Daily Show and stuff like that, and the Colbert Report. And I'm just like, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm just like, how the fuck did you two guys get away with this shit? With like,
do I own them? No, sir, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Disney Plus is the looming one that never got shown.
And then, so while the boys are just in Butters just sucking down those popsicles and they're rocking it out, Cartman shows up and they're like, "Don't fucking tell him what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's gonna fuck it up."
But his manipulative depression.
Yes, he's just like, "Hey guys." They're like, "Oh, hey Cartman." He's like, "What are you guys doing in here?" They're like, "Oh, we're just nothing. We're just kind of doing small stuff. I mean, don't worry about it. Just, you know, what do you want?" He's like, "Oh, nothing. Just trying to raise some money. My mom needs surgery."
And it's such a blanketed fucking term that even the boys are like,
"Oh shit."
They're still friends with this motherfucker. They can hate him, but they're still his friend.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, it is a shit. And, you know, in the grand scheme of accomplishments these four boys do, even with like Tolkien and Butters or like Craig or anything, it's not hard for them to make money. They built a tower to heaven.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, it's not hard for them to like just accumulate large amounts of wealth.
I mean, Cartman did it with Faith Plus One.
Yeah, Faith Plus One, a church. He did it with a fucking church. They do all these businesses.
Cartman Burger was a thing before they realized he was sticking it up his ass.
Yeah, it's Tetterman chili.
He didn't make money on that though.
He made spiritual money off of that.
He made a lot of spiritual money.
Tears cure cancer.
And they are so salty and tasty. So by this point, he winds up threatening Leanne that he's going to have the surgery done to himself. Mm-hmm. She still remains unfazed, and it's just like
the hard line.
Oh yeah,
of Mrs. Cartman is fucking fantastic.
She's just like, okay. She's just like reading a magazine. He's like,
I'll do it. Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm making money. I'm saving up money. I'm going to do it. I'm going to save the money. I'm just going to get it done. She's like,
do it.
I don't care. Mm-hmm. Whatever.
And oh my God, that is such resolve for a character who has like no backbone against her son. And like, that's what I like about South Park. They're able to build characters a little bit more. There's a lot of change in characters and like their tropes and stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. Like Stan's dad, you know, Randy was nothing but just a full character, and now he's a monster of Karen.
Oh yeah. And the other bit I forgot to mention too, it was in the synopsis, I was wanted to skip over. It's like, but once he gets the money, he like goes, "Hey mom, I've got a surprise for you. Close your eyes," and like takes her to the doctor, and he's just like, "Okay, open your eyes." And she's like, "What the fuck are we doing here?" And the doctor's like trying to give her all this information about breast augmentation and all that crap. And she's like, "No, I've already said we can't afford it." He goes, "I know, mom. That's what's great. I have the money. I got the money. You can get it done and you can marry the rich man and everything is going to go back great." And she's just like, "Oh my fucking God."
Yeah, her resolve is still there.
And then that's when he starts threatening. He's like, "Fine, I'm just going to fucking do it myself." Because the guy's just like, "Look, I can just refund you guys the money, you know, sorry about all this." And he's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to fucking get it done." She's like, "Fine, whatever."
And then he gets it done.
Yeah. He winds up getting it done, and it's like you see it a little bit, but they do it kind of like a monster reveal, because he says, I'm gonna go do it, and she's like, okay honey, I'll pick you up, call me when you're done and I'll come pick you up. He says like, okay, and sure as shit he goes in there, gets it done, and he's just like, the shock sets in when he's in the hospital bed. And I don't know, maybe because Cartman is just such a horrible character, you kind of want to see him suffer a little bit. That resolve in his face of, oh fuck, I really did just do this. I love that.
And while this is going on, the streaming wars are getting to like a pitch point.
Yeah, and to the point where Steve sees a report on ManBearPig.
Well, he goes up the mountain.
Yes.
And where all the streams are coming from. And he sees all these for sale signs of real estate. And you see, go back to the old real estate episode, you see one, he's just like stuck in mid-place with his thumbs up. Like,
yep, he's just like back cracked laying on the ground.
Someone came and tried to buy all of it, but we couldn't. Something stopped us. And it's just like, yeah, the ManBearPig.
That's what stopped you. But he also connects through that realtor that essentially all the land has been sold to a wealthy buyer. And I was trying to struggle a little bit. It's like that can mean a couple different things.
So this actually goes to policy of the United States. I was reading an article about where they got this idea from. So in the United States, if a rich company or a company itself buys a swath of land that's usable, let's say it could be a national park, could be used for something else, they can retain the rights without eminent domain coming through. Right. So somehow they bypass something that we would go through of eminent domain. Let's say you have a house and they're going to put a highway above your house. They're able to daisy chain themselves out of that situation. Because no, we're going to use it for something. We just don't have to tell you.
You'll find out later.
And we'll find out later. And they never use it. A lot of land out west is owned by corporations that aren't going to be used for anything other than probably dig a well or some shit.
Right. But they own the property, so they get the property taxes.
So it also prevents the government from coming through saying, oh, we need to put a highway here. No, you don't. No, you don't, because we're going to put a fucking oil well here. We're going to create jobs. That's more important than your fucking road. Or we're going to make this a conservatorship of a park. You don't need a park. Parks are useless. They're not. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what they're trying to show here. But it's also the gall of trying to sell land where life has to come from. And I just love they just can't, like the way he's like just broken and back, and it's just like Steve is like he's like, look at Sharon, look at her sail, and it shows like a crooked up woman, kind of like fucking Stranger Things, just all broken up and shit. And I'm just like, the only thing that could stop anything in South Park is ManBearPig.
And then it jump cuts immediately back to Randy, in which he starts to sail one of his boats down his streaming service so he can prove and get a little bit of money. And all of a sudden, one of Cussler's boats comes running on in. And I love the animation on this, because it's like the animators of South Park have even discussed before. They're like, yeah, we really love working on the show, but we really like when Matt and Trey really go off the walls, and it gives us a chance to like do something a little different. And you can tell that the animators had so much fun animating those boats and making it seem like some big pirate adventure, and like Cussler's boats hitting Randy's Integrity Farms one, and it like breaking apart. And it's
it reminded me of that movie Where the River Runs Wild, where the two rafting boats are just trying to bash each other and just like getting away down the stream, and she's like just trying to move and like maneuver and trying to not die.
And I love how each one always has a little Lego figure on it. It's like they never skimped on the detail. And
it's like some Pirates of the Caribbean. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, and even another good allegory they used, in kind of like a little meta joke, is while they're still working and getting all the boats made before Cartman got the money, you see them all making the boats again. It like jumps back to that, and you see Cartman just like slapping them together.
Lazy.
Yeah, and Kyle just kind of looks at him. He's like, dude. He's like, what? He goes,
we're making quality products.
Yeah, he's like, just because we have to make a lot of these doesn't mean we have to like make them suck. You know, we got to make them at least look good.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that was an immediate commentary on this, like, yeah, we've got a lot of shit to make, but you know, we still need to put time into each one.
And that's got a slap in the face to people like Netflix, Hulu, and everybody trying to make a shit product. Just just kind of shell it out.
Just push it out.
And I will say, just listen to reviews, even the ideas that are being pitched
for those Netflix series.
God damn.
It's funny. I didn't even know where you were going with it, but I had a feeling. It's like, dude, Netflix is just, they're pumping out so much shit.
I thought half of these episodes I was watching of like commentators talking about, hey, there's this new movie, there's this new show. And I'm like, you're fucking lying.
Yeah.
You're watching some shit back in the day or something. Like, it's trash TV. There's like, I don't know if anybody's kept track of this. Netflix has gone to reality television a lot lately.
Snowflake Mountain,
whatever the fuck that is.
You hadn't even seen that one?
That's I don't want to.
Well, too bad. You're about to hear about it. It's a show where they just drop a whole lot of kids that like the stereotypical.
When you say kids,
ages maybe like 16 to 18.
Okay, so we're not talking about like Lord of the Flies.
No, we're not talking about Kid Nation.
Kid Nation.
But no,
Jay Karsh.
No, dropping a whole
Jay
lot.
Jay Karsh making it.
That sadistic fuck.
Just some Ellie Goulding's this is Lord of the Flies, but with teenagers. They don't create religion; they create capitalism.
But no, it's a whole bunch of mid-teens and early 20s kids basically dropped off in the middle of nowhere, Man versus Wild style, and just like all the kids are the stereotypical on their phones 24/7.
Week.
We need to have electricity at all times, kind of shit. And basically
kids who probably never went camping.
For a lack of a better term, and I know some of our Discord members watch this show. I'm sorry, but it comes down to essentially boomer humor. It's look at the kids that can't function in society without their luxuries. That's really what it comes down to, and that's just an example of the shit Netflix is putting out.
I would love an opposite version of that. Hey, look at the guy who can't stop saying the N-word out loud every fucking day.
Let's drop him in the seediest part of New York and see how long he lasts.
See how woke he is in the hospital. But so like it's just this oversaturation of like the things they're making, and Cartman is like you said, we're slapping shit together, and that's what that is. It's a nice fuck you to the streaming services as a whole for content creation.
Yeah, and
like let me ask you something. What is like, because you have the ad free YouTube.
Yes.
So even with that said, I have found more entertaining product on YouTube that I have on all the other streaming services we have.
Absolutely. 9 times out of 10, I go to YouTube first for just watching something, and if I can't, and then it's like if I do a 30-minute recommendation YouTube scroll and nothing really interests me and I don't feel like rewatching something, then I might go to Disney Plus. Then I might go to Amazon. Then maybe I'll go to Netflix.
Yeah. And we had talked about it during the Stranger Things. How long do you think it would take before one of the big ones get knocked down or bought out?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think that's one of the unanswered questions of this special. Is there's nothing really resolved when it comes to the streaming wars part.
No,
they just create more streaming. That's the end goal, is to create more streaming.
And my favorite, one of my favorite scenes actually happens now. So after Randy's boat gets knocked the fuck out, he's just like, "Wait, those are the kids' boats. See, they're making boats for other people. What the fuck?" And like approaches them, and they're like, "Well, we just wanted to make money." And it's like, that's when it gets super meta with everything. Because he's just like, "No, you can't sign an exclusive deal with me, an exclusive deal with Steve, an exclusive deal with Cussler. You got to do it right." He's like, "No, we're marching down there right now, and you're going to tell him you're not making boats for him anymore. You're making boats for me." And they're like, "Oh, okay, all right." But then they show up, and they realize he's been murdered by ManBearPig.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this kind of goes to like corporate sabotage a little bit.
Yeah.
With Disney and Marvel, creating all their stuff, this goes with like HBO back in DC. In my mind, this is how it like plays out. Is it's like, it's just a matter of time before one just undercuts the other one on just some fucked up idea.
Yeah. And then at that point, at PP Splash Town, Steve winds up approaching him and is just like, "Hey man, shit's going down. I can't do this anymore. I have to cancel your streaming subscription service. I'm sorry." And he's just like, "No, No, you can't cancel a pee-pee.
No. And they make him overtly evil.
Oh, yeah.
From the last time we see him in the Watertown episode.
Yeah.
And
this is when everything gets revealed. He's been working with the water commissioner. He's been working with ManBearPig. He has his whole villain dialogue thing in front of Steve. It almost felt like the Emperor scene in Revenge of the Sith, where it's like he's like, no, I am the Senate, and then fucking kills Mace Windu.
Yeah. But the water commission guy realizes, the broader plan, broader spectrum of the plan, and then he wants more money, or he'll tell everything, and that's where ManBearPig comes in again as the muscle.
Yes,
it's just like, I'll fucking kill you too. I don't give a shit. And I'm just like,
ManBear bitch.
Hey, ManBear bitch. And like they kind of end on that. Like you assume Steve is dead.
Yep, because basically ManBearPig stabs Steve in the gut, which we've all come to realize over the last few months is no one ever dies from a gut check, so Steve was fine. Yep. Gets stabbed in the gut, tossed out the window, sliding on down the slide. So it's like, it's just fucked up. Like if Steve had actually died, we would have been just laughing at his death the whole time, because the motherfucker's like bleeding out, but like going down a water slide. Yeah.
And you see like the water turn red too, and it's like, oh god, that's fucking hilarious.
And in that whole evil villain plot, you find out that PP is no longer interested in the water supply. He knows the water supply is going to go away. He just wants to utilize the water for as long as he can, and then slowly start incorporating piss into the water to a point where people will now be just consuming 100% piss and they don't even realize it.
Which is a great allegory for whatever content's being created.
Yes.
It's all trash.
That's what I loved about it. It's like, we don't taste it when there's just a little bit mixed in. But it's like the more that gets mixed in, before you know it, you take a sip and you go, is that the way I remember it? And then you realize, oh shit, this is all piss.
Like you can say that about a lot of content we watch. It's especially when we went from watching something like going to the movies and watching Star Wars to watching Star Wars on television to watching something from Mandalorian to Boba Fett to this and that. Right. It's like the content's kind of gone to shit.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And that's just my opinion on just like the Star Wars part, but it just goes to shit.
Well, I've already said a few times that like my fandom is swapped. I used to be a hardcore Star Wars fan and like a casual Marvel fan. It's like my fandom swapped. It's just the Star Wars stuff has just been killed out for me. But yeah, so back at school, Stan warns the others of Cussler's death, and Cartman arrives, bouncing and jiggling and fussing at Butters for staring, which becomes a nice ongoing joke for the next episode. And Tolkien's mother Linda calls him to inform that Steve's disappearance, which it's kind of a sobering moment a little bit, because you're kind of laughing and giggling with Cartman coming in, bitching about things and not addressing the fact he's got like Pamela Anderson sized tits. And then all of a sudden the humor's just broken up by Tolkien having to take that phone call and hear his dad's missing. So that was a little bit of like a sobering moment, because South Park doesn't do a lot of real like that too often.
Well, like it's the opposite of brevity. It's taking a when we watch a somber moment on a show and hey, there's a joke here and there, and okay, that breaks it up. It's just the exact opposite, which is needed because there is a serious point to this show. Even when they do stupid shit, like remember the guinea pig episode?
Oh god.
Oh my god, I'm so startled.
Lemmy winks.
I'm so startled.
Oh yeah, startled. But yeah, so it basically ends with Randy no longer being very, trustworthy of what's going on, and starts investigating. Leading us into episode 2, amidst the streaming wars, a drought in South Park has significantly worsened.
And I love the opener for this one. It was "You Don't Miss Your Water" by Otis Redding.
Yes,
is playing, which is a fucking hilarious song, like for this moment. And even it's about love and loss, but like this, in this moment, it's just about you guys fucked up so goddamn much that now you have no water. In a snow town.
And then we jump immediately into court where Eric is suing his mom and forcing Stan, Tolkien, Butters, and Kyle to testify about how Cartman used the money they earned to pay for his breast implants.
And that opening is so funny. He's like, can you tell me why exactly you did this, this, and this? And it's like each boy testifying. And I thought they were going to do like, this is the end of the episode,
right?
And they're just calling back to the front. You know what I'm saying? We talked about this on Stranger Things. It's like, this is a cool way to open. It's like, this is what's going to happen at the end. But now they're going to show the end real quick, a part of it, or just a part of it, and then show what happens. But no, they do a whole different thing. And this is like, I love the judge saying, get the fuck out of my courtroom. This is fucking stupid.
This is dismissed.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Elsewhere, Randy wakes up on a bench surrounded by feral onlookers.
With this Karen
Yes. Because by this point, like, as we mentioned earlier, we keep cutting back to Stan, and he is just regressing into more and more Karenisms to the point where by the end of the last episode, he's got the full haircut, everything.
Yeah, Randy's fucked.
Oh, yeah. And it was kind of interesting because when you're going into it, you're just like, oh, it's the new silly thing that's happening with Randy. But I think that overall arc was even them being aware with themselves about Randy. Because Randy goes through a big personality change on this, which I don't know if it's going to stick or not, because he says it wouldn't stick. But yeah, so where Detective Harris shows up and he's just like, what's going on? And he's like, you went full nuclear Karen.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
And it's like the sudden realization of what he is.
Yes.
And I love this. They later on they'll do it, and I'll bring it back up, but like the self-actualization of Randy Marsh in the South Park universe.
Yes.
And oh my God, it's so fucking funny.
Cartman also notices Tolkien exploring the late Robert Cussler's abandoned home for clues about Tolkien's missing father, Steve. When he hears of Cussler's death, Cartman summarizes that Tolkien is having sex with his mom, believing it to be why she is standing up for him.
Yes. Because Cartman is an idiot. And somehow a genius, too.
I know, and I'm sitting here going, I'm like, and I'm even watching the episode sitting here going, how is he connecting these dots? Why does he think that Tolkien has anything to do with Cussler's death and that he's also fucking his mom?
Well, that's the great thing about Eric Cartman and like the pathos of what Cartman is. The more you try to understand him, the more dumber you get.
Yeah.
The more you think about it.
I just need to not.
Yeah. So like, it's just like trying to think of like who did 9/11. The more you look at it, the dumber you get.
Stay tuned on the new CCR show. Yeah. But yeah, back at the Denver City Council meeting, PP proposes his new pitch deck. Yes. They make a lot of deck jokes.
Linda, I need to see your husband's deck.
How big is your deck? But the thing is like, I didn't realize what a pitch deck was initially, and I'm just like, where are they going?
We just talk about, because it's a pitch.
Yeah.
We who are avid players of Business Walrus know exactly what a pitch is.
Yeah, we know what a pitch is, but not a pitch deck.
Yeah.
And then that's why I was just like, is that real? But no, it is a real thing. To have his water park and subsequently the entirety of Colorado run entirely on piss.
Yeah, and I like this is the celebrity endorsement.
Yes, it's all the people that promoted cryptocurrency and NFTs.
Yes, so this is what I really like. It was like, how low down are you going to get to sell your bullshit?
Yep.
All right, your bullshit idea of piss being an alternative to water, which I think is fucking hilarious. And it starts with Matt Damon.
Yep.
And at what point does he get pissed on?
Yes.
And I'm just like, yeah, because he makes that noise.
Well, it was when he was taking a shower.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's basically taking a golden shower.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh my God, that's so fucking funny. But I did not expect, like, this is something I didn't see coming, was all the other celebrities. Like, you got the queen of bullshit, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my God, yes.
The goop lady.
Brain is goop.
Yeah, and then Reese Witherspoon out of nowhere, then LeBron James, and then Larry David. And it just seemed like almost, it bordered on fetishism. Drink the piss.
Yeah.
Be happy in the piss. And I'm just like, this is kind of disgusting, but yet hilarious at the same time.
I think South Park's done nastier.
They have.
So I was fine with this level. And hell, the horse cock on the previous season was nastier than this.
Show her, brothers. Show her.
Hamburgers. Meanwhile, a remorseful Randy abandons his marijuana farming business and resumes his geology profession after realizing just how far gone down this path he is.
You remember what his job title was? What he actually studied? He studied geology, but he studied a subversion of.
It was the way lakes and streams formed.
Yep. Flumeology. Mm-hmm. And I just laughed at because that's the exact fucking term of someone who studies rivers and streams.
Right.
And I'm just like a fluviologist, and I'm just like, I haven't heard that since biology class in high school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn, that brought back like just flooded fucking memories of just like trying to learn all these fucking terms for assholes who do science. And I'm just like,
assholes that do science.
And they brought back one of like in the background you actually see some of Randy's friends.
Yes.
That were kind of like
the guy with the stringy gray hair.
Yeah, who were all kind of like condemned to like background spots. But it works out. Like it's just pretty cool. See him. He's got his desk. He's got his pocket protector. His hair's back to the way it was, almost to the point of like season 5 or 6.
Yeah,
where it was like kind of badly chopped up a little bit. And
well, the thing I really liked about it was his realization moment, because again, we watch a lot of the nerdy YouTube stuff. We just mentioned, we always go to YouTube first, before any other streaming site. But through that, I've watched at least a lot of South Park fan content, and folks have talked about, just how far Randy's gone, away from the way he originally was. He's now almost a Flanderization of Randy. It's almost, he's a parody of himself, no longer being a parody of a dad, that kind of thing. And it kind of felt like Matt and Trey realized that, saw some of that content and kind of put it in that speech where he's just like, I used to be smart. I used to have important things to say. I was a geologist. I was important.
And he was, because he helped on that drill that drilled through all the hippies.
Yeah. So it's like, I do think that maybe they were just like, we really do need to get Randy back to just being the good guy.
They're playing that song that's basically saying South Park overdid it and we're sorry. Yeah. We made him a main cast when he was supposed to be like a B-tier character.
Well, I think he can still be a main character. It's just he needed to just get back to classic Randy.
Yeah.
He'd just gone too far down the asshole route.
Well, it became so elaborate. Like, even before the weed thing, it was, he's Lord?
Yeah.
He's Lord.
Well, see, even that I was cool with, because I wasn't asshole Randy.
Yeah, but it's not even like the asshole part of it. It's just like the overdone storylines. Now, granted, they are hilarious episodes. They're fantastic episodes.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're getting really far from what you started with. You know what I'm saying? And I love expanded universes and everything. But if they were just to do a show called Randy.
Well, they tried that.
Yeah.
Come on down, Integrity Farms. Have yourself a time.
Yeah. But like, even the whole integrity thing is just like, all right, guys, you made the joke. And it's just like, no, we're sticking with it as long as it takes until we can apologize for it.
No, Randy, you're the only one that likes the special. It's fine. That was my target audience anyway. It's like, all right, fuck you guys too.
And so he goes back to the fluviology.
Yes.
And he's realizing what needs to be done. But while this is going on, as it Token, Butters, and Cartman, they investigate the water resort.
Right before that, Denver's about to commission a PP service, and then Randy arrives and proposes a building for the
desalination plant, which is something that are big on our coast, but not on the West Coast for some reason.
And when I was looking at the design, I was really expecting it to look more like Dick and Balls, but it didn't.
Yeah, it looks like giant balls, because that's what a desalination plant looks like. It's a giant orbs that collect water, heat it.
But I was expecting just a nice long building straight down the middle. That way they could do like a top view and just be like Dick. Yep. Yeah. So come on, they're already making piss jokes.
I think this one was all tit jokes.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, because of how they wind up solving the problem. But yeah, so enraged by hearing about this, PP orders his staff, including ManBearPig, to get rid of Randy. And then at that point, that's when Cartman and Butters spy on Tolkien at his house. When Tolkien confronts them, and Cartman reveals his research on the drought. Cartman, Butters, and Tolkien tell Harris of their research, and Harris, believing that Steve is behind the drought, reveals that ManBearPig is likely being exploited as it fears for its mate, Pig Bear Girl, and its offspring, Chuck Chuck.
Exploited. That's gonna be funny. Just hearing you try to say exploited, but yeah, Chuck Chuck, which is actually just a fucking like knockoff gremlin or some shit like that, like Sloth from the Goonies. Even what was it you said? You said that's a kid inside that fucking suit,
dude. When you're watching it, it's literally a kid in a like Ewok suit. Because if you look at his mouth is moving behind a mask.
Chuck Chuck,
Chuck Chuck, and that's like even the noise the fucking Ewoks make. They're like Chuck Chuck.
Yeah,
and I'm just like motherfucker, and they never. That's South Park's been doing this with us lately, and it's the only thing I've not been a fan of. They'll drop something like that and then never explain it.
Yeah.
We got it in those future episodes with the folks wearing the shit on their heads.
Yeah.
So many specific people were wearing it. We never got word on what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And now we get it again. Spoiler alert, by the end of this, you get no reveal on Chuck Chuck, anything. They just fucking walk off into the goddamn sunset. And I'm just like, no, god damn it. Reveal the fact Chuck Chuck's a kid.
Yeah, so they go down there.
And what were you saying about me saying exploited?
You didn't say exploited correctly.
Well, how'd I say it?
Exploited. You
Exploited.
put an R.
Oh, okay.
You put a fucking R in there.
Exploited. Mouth is getting all filled with flavor.
I fuck up the words all the time, man.
I fuck them up. I fuck them up real good.
But so the guards are like, hey, there's someone down here, blah blah blah, and they catch Token.
Yeah,
and they
Tolkien.
Tolkien.
You're part of the problem, Chris.
You goddamn right I am. But they catch Tolkien, and like I love the guard like kind of stares at Cartman for like a minute, and he's like, my eyes are up here, asshole.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, oh god damn it, the joke is still there. But then the people,
and poor Butters. It's just like Butters is like. He's going through puberty through this exact moment. As soon as he saw Cartman, it was just like the first little sprig just went boink.
Yeah. But yeah, so PP comes down. He's like, "Oh, you're the little son of the guy I killed." Yeah. And it's just like that's the reveal, and it's just like, "Oh, motherfucker." And so they go back. They basically cage them underground with the equipment. I'm just like, that is some villainous shit.
Yeah.
That's some Wario shit, you know what I'm saying? And except I like Wario. Yeah, so Steve turns out to still be down there.
Yes.
He washed up down there, was being kept alive by a man-bear woman. And
the boys are kind of using the photo to kind of triangulate like where he could be. They're like, well, that's the thing. Oh, what do you know? There's a thing down there.
And then Cartman's got a t-shirt on the whole time. And it's just like everybody's staring at him. He's like, hey, stop staring at me.
My eyes are up here. That's all. But yeah, Steve starts getting his consciousness back from in the sewer and notices his patched up wound and realizes that Pig Bear Girl and Chuck Chuck were the ones that tended to him. Which again, that was the moment I'm sitting here going, I'm like, okay, something happened with Chuck Chuck. Take the fucking mask off. Take the fucking mask off. Who is this?
So they come up. So at one point, Randy gets down there.
Yep.
And saves the kids, but he realizes the plan to basically take the whole town to Pissville.
Yeah.
But he also realizes, staring at Cartman's tits, saline will save the town. Yeah,
because he realizes there's an issue within transporting salt water up the hill to the plant. And yeah. Butters, Tolkien, and Cartman survey the water park and locate that the employee entrance is down there near the slide. And PP tells the boys his plan is to have everyone invest in his urine service and eliminate the boys, in which Harris then visits Linda Black at Category Weed, revealing his intent to kill Steve if he finds him, while Steve eavesdrops on their conversation.
Yeah. I'm just, like, even at this point in this episode, I still didn't know the point of Chuck Chuck and Pig Bear Girl, but I do.
Well, they're yeah, exactly. I was like, what would be offspring of climate change?
So it's the next back alley deal. The compromise we make with ourselves.
Right.
So like a good example of this is our use of paper products again. Mm-hmm. Instead of going away from plastics, we're going back to paper products. Like, you remember when that change happened when you were a kid?
Yeah.
So we had like you remember the big cup at McDonald's was made of paper, and then it went to styrofoam, and now it's back to paper again?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's the compromise. It's the future compromise we're making with ourselves, especially when it comes to like takeout stuff. Mm-hmm. I've noticed it here in Charlotte more than anywhere. But takeout places are now using just the cardboard fold-out salad bowls and stuff like that, which are fantastic. It's biodegradable. But like, this is the next thing, because where does that shit come from? Trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's either dig up the oil or dig up the trees, man. Like, you gotta really compromise with yourself and what you want.
And at that point, Randy receives a call that ManBearPig has destroyed the plant, and his coworkers believe that it was looking for him. Steve finds Randy and tells him about PP's plan, and Randy's family convince him to revert back to his Karen persona, using a strain of marijuana Sharon had saved. And I think it was the Halloween special? Thanksgiving special.
And Sharon's like, this is the one I really liked.
Yeah, and he was...
And then it's the comically a large amount of weed.
Yes, it was.
The quart jar of weed.
And the thing was, too, is like, that was actually kind of a touching moment. Mm-hmm. And again, South Park doesn't do it a lot. So like, when they do have a little bit of an emotional moment, it kind of hits a little bit more. It was really sweet seeing Sharon, someone that's been so sick and tired of Randy's shit, just being like, yeah, but you did do this, and I like kind of liked it, but like, you've been such of a dick lately, I hadn't like wanted to tell you, but like, no, this was actually good, and I held on to it. Yeah. Like, through all this, you did do some good, Randy, but we need you back. Yeah, we need Karen again. Yeah,
just for a quick moment.
But then he's just like, but if I do this, there's no coming back.
I'll forget you, which I thought was hilarious. He's going to get high and forget.
I know.
And so I had saw this episode before you, and I was getting really amped up for this part, because he goes in the barn and smokes it, and I'm just like, he's gonna love this shit. And he starts doing the Doctor Strange from Spider-Man move.
Yes, he's just doing like
pulling memories and shit out of the air.
Yeah, it was the scene right before he opens up the multiverse in Spider-Man. It's like the thing that sets it off. But yeah, he's like doing the fucking circles around his head, and it's like, from our perspective, he's like actually doing it. It's just like what the fuck is
Sheridan
happening?
And them are watching from the window. What the fuck is he doing? I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, and his face is all just like, and he's just like waving his arms around. Nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. But again, you for a second believe that it's actually happening because of the Leprechaun episode from last season, where Randy gets like those magical powers and like gets everyone out of jail.
Yeah, and then.
Yeah, so there's like a part of you that actually thinks, you're like, oh shit, Randy's like somehow conjuring up some magic, and then it's like, no, he's just really fucking high.
Then St. Patrick shows up and gives goggles everyone, man and women.
Yeah. And then probably one of my favorite of the celebrity references, PP is filming his latest commercial at the water park, and you
Reese, have fun in the PP.
Yes, and it's like it's all the people, because in this entire hour-long episode, it's been split up by little pieces of like the different celebrities doing their spots, like Gwyneth Paltrow and everyone else. Now you've got all of them in the pool, and they were just kind of like, it's also kind of a good commentary on like maybe the celebrities kind of understanding how far they've gone.
What's the sellout? It's like, how far could you get a celebrity to sell out? Mm-hmm. And that's it. You can make them just in a pool of piss.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Make them splash around. Drink it.
Give them enough money. Yeah. It's just.
Act like you're happy. Splash around in the piss, motherfuckers.
Be brave.
Yeah.
Bold.
Pepsi.
Fucking Bitcoin. Crypto.
But it's like, I thought it was also just kind of telling too how PP kind of all of a sudden broke down his personality some too, where I forget which celebrity was just like, no, I really don't want to do this. He's like, no, fuck you. PP owns you. You splash around into PP and you be happy about it, or I will fucking kill you, or whatever the fuck he was doing. It's just like, he's like, no, I own you, bitch.
Yeah.
Do it. And they're just like,
and then Reese Witherspoon just starts crying.
I don't know. I fucking hate this place.
I fucking hate this place. But that's where
and Karen forces his way in.
Yeah, because it goes viral, because another part of this was the news reports of, well, nothing in the news today because we ran out of Karen videos.
Yes, Karen wasn't in town today, so we don't have anything to talk about.
But there's like a live stream feed of her, of Karen going off at the fucking guard at the front.
But I will say, very interesting that they went down this specific path with that cut, because at first, Randy Karen is in the right, trying to get through. But as soon as the live stream kicks in, it's when he's in full Karen mode. You don't see the beginning of what caused it. All you see is the Karen outrage. And I thought that was a very interesting thing that they went, because that has been kind of been revealed throughout the years with different people losing their minds in videos, and you're like, oh my God, the fuck is wrong with this person? And then you hear the backstory of what led them to that, and you're just like, oh, well, they still shouldn't have acted like that, but that's really someone having a bad day. It contextualizes it some. So they even kind of played into that by only letting the live viewers see just the, no, let me tell you something, PP.
Yeah. And he gets like in his face, he's like, I want to speak to the manager. He's like, well, I own the place. He's like, no, who's your boss? And I'm just like, that reminded me so much of my last job.
How so?
So my boss, the head of the company, took over a conference room right next to my desk, and he was right beside me, and I could see through his glass walls. I'd have customers like, I want to speak to the owner, and I would look to my left, and there's the owner, and then I would say on the phone, I'm sorry, he's not here, and I can't transfer you to him.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm just like, the amount of mental kung fu I had to do with these motherfuckers on the goddamn phone because they didn't want to be scheduled for a service.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Karen's as far as the eye could see.
And basically, while this happens, the distraction is great enough for the kids to release Chuck and Pig Bear Girl. Yeah, I remembered it. Yeah, Pig Bear Girl.
And ManBearPig.
And then so ManBearPig sees that, and he's just like, oh,
they're free.
Fuck you, PP. It's like, they're good. They're safe. Oh, I'm going to kill your ass.
And I love, like, so right after that, they're like, we got the desalination plant on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And you got Cartman in the white coat, the white robe. And so they show Cartman's tits.
Yeah.
Because he's a boy. But then when the women show up, they cover them in like the awkward hands or this or whatever. And I'm thinking, that's so fucking funny because it's still a cartoon.
Yep.
And I'm just like...
Yeah, because Randy... I forget what... Because it was another one of those classic Randy moments that led to that. He hears a word and does the whole Dr... Was it Dr. Oz? No, not Dr. Oz. Well, House.
Yeah.
He does the whole house thing of like, water, fish, sushi. Like, and it goes down like this big long thing, and eventually ends on like saline. Saline can filter it. And looks down at Cartman, and he's just like, oh no.
But they get Cartman to kind of like start the wave.
Yeah.
And they drain his tits.
Yes.
And then
he gets on TV and like does like some big movement of like, all the women need to come drain their tits of the saline. And like, but the parade of women that show up is like all of the big poofy blonde haired fucking maybe 50, 60-year-old women, plumped up lips.
Yeah. They're like the Orange County wives or whatever.
Yes.
And so they go in there and they start draining all the things, and like even the entendre of the squirt, just
yeah.
It's like, that's fucking hilarious.
It is.
And then so like, all right, so it starts working.
Yeah.
Everything's great. Everything's going. And then Butters turns around. He's like, oh hey, it's ManBearPig
and Chuck and Pig Bear Girl.
And they're going into the forest, and like at one point someone says, shouldn't we kill that fucking thing?
Yeah.
He's like, and Randy basically out of the blue says, fuck it, let's get high.
Yep, that's exactly what he says. He's just like, fuck it, and just simply just like everyone needs to smoke some weed and forget about it.
And that's the
end of the episode.
But that's indicative of fucking everything. It's just like, let's just get high and forget.
Well, so, and again, that's the part that really made me sit here and ponder. So I'm just sitting here going, I'm like, okay. So the South Park crew is usually really good at setting up a problem, maybe not answering the problem, but just being like, hey, you guys, y'all know this is a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Are we going to do anything about it? We just make comedy. Like, this is up to y'all to do something. Yeah. Like, come on.
South Park never solves his problems.
No. But what problem did they try to bring to our attention with Pig Girl and Chuck Chuck? That's the thing that still really ponders me. I know you were saying more back alley deals, but what?
The compromise on how we deal with climate change. So as of right now, we've compromised on the deal with climate change with I forget what the name of the process is. Zero sum fossil fuel usage, which instead of a gradual decline, like we're here and we gradually decline, zero sum is
immediate drop,
but like in the future where it would create an energy crisis, and we'd have to think like, so it's the stupid idea of people work better in a crisis situation, which they don't. Right. They panic, they scream, they bitch and moan. Oh my God. Yeah, so like the zero sum game isn't feasible. And that's what South Park is as a town, the zero sum game. Never, like, even with the whole the Mongolian thing, they built a fucking wall around their city. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah.
Why? And because that's the zero sum. They've made a crisis answer to a problem they could gradually resolve through time. So,
but they're trying to say that this is the offspring of climate change.
Yeah, so there's going to be another problem coming right after this apocalyptic thing.
Right, so that's what I'm asking. They're like, what is it?
It's an allegory of mystery. So you don't know what it is until later on. Just like they didn't see the problems in the 80s, what they were doing, until now when we have realization of what the fucking problem was.
Well, so no, that was back in the 60s because it was Grandpa was a kid.
Yeah, but
it wasn't the 80s.
But that's what they make the joke of the 80s itself, is overindulgence, overusage, overproduction.
Right, but they were aware of what was happening, which is why they made the deal with them. So it just really feels like that within the episode, they were saying, hey, that right there is a problem. Let's go ahead and take care of it now while it's small.
Yeah, so...
And then they were like, no, let's just forget it. So for the fact that they're saying this could be a small thing...
Chuck could literally be a stand-in for any small problem now that's going to be over-elaborated in the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, and that remarks back right to what I was saying, is I wonder what they were seeing as the small problem that we could nip in the bud now versus letting it grow into the bigger problem.
You know, it could just be an oversimplified, and like I said, you can put whatever you want in there.
Yeah.
For me, it would probably be the oversaturation of media. We need to nip that in the bud. Maybe create some type of unified system. Or it could just be what is considered a utility. Is internet a utility? For us, it is. We grew up with the internet.
Yeah.
We need it to get jobs. We need it to do shit. We need it to communicate. It's not a utility, though. Now, what if now that's something we can nip in the bud right now? Instead of 40 years in the future where internet's like in West Virginia, the way Brad's got it, that is a shit show of a situation with his internet service because it can go out all the time and he still has to pay for it.
Yeah.
Here, it gets fixed like that.
Yeah.
But what if we treat it as a utility like power lines and water? Where everyone has equal access at a reasonable price.
Right.
So that's just one example of a small problem that needs to be fixed immediately. Like phones are a utility now. A long time ago, there was one big company running all the phone lines called
Bell South.
Yeah, and then they dropped it into the baby bells, basically.
Yeah.
Nipped that shit in the bud when they did because it became a monopoly. Internet services are a monopoly. They all work with each other. It's
power companies.
Yes, but it's the propane. The propane dealerships in King of the Hill. I'm going to raise mine to $3 a gallon. Well, I'm going to raise mine to $3.01. That's cool. I'm going to raise mine to $2.99. And then it's just slowly, one goes up and they spiral up in price. So yeah, that's another problem, and there's so many other ones we don't like really recognize just because of our demographic. that are problems that can be nipped in the bud very quickly that we won't see till 20, 30 years down the future.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're trying to warn us about something.
And I'm kind of curious if South Park's going to be around that long.
Fuck. I mean, they re-signed to like, what, 10 more fucking years of this shit, it seemed like?
Well, yeah, so they signed for 10 specials. They've already done 2.
Yeah.
So they got 8 specials to go.
So, and I feel like it's going to be going for a while.
And they remember that was buku money too. It was like $9 billion or something. No, what was it?
They fucking bought Casa Bonita with that shit. So I mean, good on them.
I'm still waiting for South Park Land. Remember they
Cartman
created.
World.
Remember they created like a pop-up theme park for a little while. I'm just like, make it. Just fucking make it, you dick.
Well, I know we're going to have some more South Park stuff to talk about before the end of the year because they've already done that big festival celebrating the 25 seasons of South Park.
With Ween and Promise.
Mm-hmm. And so they're going to be doing a special on that, I think, through Paramount. So if that's of note, I'm sure we'll do a little review. And hell, Cap actually might join us on that one since it has to do with music.
I'm kind of curious, like, what would you think, like, just a quick little thing, like, out of a South Park land, what would you like to see out of South Park land? They might not call it South Park Land just for the Parkland part.
Right. Well, okay, so like, this is completely left field, but this is where my nerd brain goes. A cheesy poof bounce house.
Yeah.
Where it's like the orange balls, and it's like you're in a big cheesy poof bag.
The different like attractions, you know.
Yeah.
You would have a Casa Bonita.
Yeah.
You'd have, you know, you could actually buy cheesy poofs. You could have chefs. There's a giant guy who's chef.
Yeah.
Making chocolate salty balls.
So see that's the kind of stuff I'd like to see. Maybe not stuff like, you know, the Butter's Dark Ride or, you know, the Kill Kitty experience. It's like that wouldn't be as fun. It's like I would want deep cut little referential
throw it
piece.
at Kenny dolls.
Okay, now that would actually be good.
But like rides and shit called the Tetterman.
Well, no, not even necessarily. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't want that. That's the stuff I wouldn't want.
Yeah.
I would want it to be, this is a theme park in South Park's universe.
Yeah.
And if that were the case, there wouldn't be a ride themed to Cartman. There wouldn't be a ride themed to the Tettermans. It would be themed to the IP in the South Park universe.
You go to like a little kiosk and get a Faith Plus One CD.
Yes, that's the kind of shit I would want.
You could buy a Lord CD, but it's just Randy Marsh with a mustache on it. Yeah.
And that's why I'd be cool with like a chef restaurant because it's like, okay, I could see that in the South Park universe. Only thing I wouldn't want would be character themed rides or attractions.
I think it'd just be fun to have like people dressed up like giant plushy people.
Oh yeah, of course. You can have that all day long.
But I think that would be just something cool because I saw a few images of what their little pop-up theme thing was, a little festival, and I thought that was just fucking hilarious. I would love them to do like a Broadway version of the Book of Mormon because they made that.
Yeah.
And like little puppets, little marionette puppets of a Team America you could buy.
No, that would be really good. But no, this has been another really good special of theirs. Like I said, if the little live show thing is anything to report on, we might do an episode on that. But until next time, for the Couch Potatoes, I've been Alex and Chris. Do you have any sort of final thoughts on the streaming wars?
Not really the streaming wars, just like I'm just curious what the next one's going to be.
Yeah,
what
right.
the next special would be about because there's just so much shit.
You know what I want?
What?
A good Halloween special.
Oh, get Korn back.
Oh shit.
Can you imagine just Korn making a special appearance? It's like,
hey guys, we are back.
Yeah, and they just start boom.